but the way he created the video and directed it, it's just he did an amazing job, and I wanted to create something that's inspired by liminal spaces as well.
Yeah, a really bizarre liminal space experience years and years and years ago. It was in the South on a crew filming this movie, and we were staying at this house that was across the street from where they were building a new development all at one time, sort of a manufactured housing situation. But they had installed all the streets and finished them, but built none of the houses. And so it was like all of these streets completely finished and paved, but with no houses or driveways or anything. It was very strange. You could sort of walk around over there and lay down in the middle of the street and like no one was there. It was weird. It was definitely like that in real life.
The Limit Ocean is kind of like a desert, but not Arizona desert. It's like sand dunes.
It's Sander, yeah. Is that the one with all the ships in it?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
They shot Fallout there, a couple scenes of Fallout.
Yeah. They shot which one there? Fallout, yeah. And I thought they had shot the end of
Mission Impossible?
no, Inception. The very end of Inception, where they're whatever it is, 3 dreams deep, and and reality is sort of washing away
Oh, that's cool.
on the shore. Have you seen Inception?
I have seen
Okay,
it. I
yeah,
just didn't
yeah.
know it was shot in Namibia.
I mean, I think so. I mean, whatever they ended up with there at the end, it's certainly very inspired by that location. I've seen, like every 2 years on the internet, it seems like the pictures of that place, go viral again. They're like, look at this. There's this giant ship in the middle of the desert, kind of thing.
But what I was gonna say is there's these buildings in the middle of the desert that's just abandoned and
Wow.
filled with sand. And
Yeah.
It's so eerie. I love Namibia. I actually really love Namibia. We lived there for a while. The only problem is
So how far is that, like, from South Africa?
it's about, I would say, 1,000 from where I was living, about 1,400 kilometers, which is about 2 to 3 days full drive. It's separate from South Africa. As in it's a separate country. So
Yeah.
you had to go in with a visa, but it's much safer than South Africa, but it's not as developed. So where we lived, for example, it was about an hour and a half's drive to the nearest hospital, which is one of the reasons my dad passed after the accident. So if you live there, you either have to live in Windhoek, which is the main capital of Namibia, where everything is, malls, movie theaters, whatever. Or you have to be content with the fact that you're going to drive everywhere.
Yeah. Yep.
Very far.
I actually went to Gabon years and years ago. Gabon, in between Ivory Coast and whatever the next, and Cameroon, up there. Yeah. I'll tell you the story later. It was an interesting time. It's the only time I've been to Africa. Here's
Hello,
Al.
Alex here, and I'm gonna present now my difference animation for this week assignment.
Alec, you need to talk more so I can tell if you're. Yeah, everybody loves the shader, and for those of you not, Alec at one point posted a tutorial that he linked to about exactly which technique was used for the cell shading, and yeah, super nice with the little toe.
So here are the F curves for the different for the scaling animation. As you
He's got like a costume.
can see here, the phase offset creates the follow-through effect by delaying each of the curves over the time. In the scale animation, this first curve scale first, then the second cube scales a few frames later, and then followed by the third cube, and so on. This small timing offset creates the follow-through, which makes the animation feel more natural and appealing, instead of everything just changing size at the same time. So here for the how the squash and stretch field functions. Showing you, so basically creating these two bones and then applying a stretch constraint here to the fruit bone, setting the top bone as the target, and then so this top bone becomes the controller. The constraint makes the head of the fruit bone stretch toward the controller when this one moves. Let me show you here. So when I move the controller over, the fruit bone stretches, but when we move it downward, it compresses, keeping the base of this bone grounded. And yeah, that's all for this week. Thanks for watching.
Cool. Yep. Excellent. Excellent work there. Yeah, nailed the scale thing, and yeah, this model works, for doing this type of thing particularly well. The squashing and stretching of what you've got happening there. So good. Nailed it. Well done, Alec. Here.
My name is Gage, and here are my week 5 animations. Here I have my dope sheet view of the scale animation we had to make. I made this by offsetting the keyframes to demonstrate follow through. Better seen in this dope sheet view.
Cool. Great. Right. The only thing I would add here is that if you made them all cyclic, then you could extend the amount of time as much as you would want, and the whole pattern would continue. Right. But you understand.
And I have my rendered videos. With this TV, I couldn't get the buttons to actually stay on the main mesh, even when I had joined everything together and converted it to one singular mesh. These just would not animate with the rig that I had made.
Let's see. Because that was going to be my advice, joining. Did you send us the blend file?
I had some problems with that too, sometimes just disconnecting it and then trying to even boolean it on will help.
You can just also weight paint it,
You could,
but that's
but
gonna be
it'd just be a bit much.
yeah.
It seems like joining should be the.
No, yeah, it should. It's just sometimes it doesn't know how to calculate it because it's not technically connected. It's just on there.
Uh-huh. What's that?
I think we skipped that one, didn't we? Because we only had Wednesday.
Yeah, we only had that one day that week. Yeah, that one we put up on Discord. Yeah.
Maybe you can try and extend the edges a little bit
Yeah,
further
so the
into
whole-
the.
Yeah. Okay. So he did join them,
Yeah,
but maybe
calculating correctly.
yeah, maybe you join them after the yeah, because here this is although it looks like I'm breaking it, I'm actually fixing it. The maybe you joined them after you had parented it with automatic weights, because you did correctly join them. Congratulations, that's exactly what I was going to suggest. But yeah, my theory of the issue here is that you joined them after you parented with automatic weights, and so they didn't get any of the automatic weighting. And so none of it got assigned to that thing. And so now that I went back in there and I'm just weight painting those parts with a weight of 1 here. And if we just make this bigger, there we go. Should be able to do it really quickly. Yeah.
Worked the second time around, even though I didn't parent it with the automatic beforehand. Sometimes it just doesn't
Okay.
work right, I guess.
Yeah, but now if I hit play, there we go. We have dials on the television. Yeah, so you guys used to have to stand up and then go turn these dials to change the television station. Dark times for the... Okay, problem.
And this rig works by separating the bone, the top from the bottom of the bone, and setting a constraint to stretch to that bone, so we can freely squash and stretch between the 2 points. The rest of my animations, I did have a question about the cyclic frames. I feel like it starts out the way I want it to, the way I had set it up in the curves, and then as the animation cycles through a few times, it starts to like go away from the actual points I had set it to. I don't know.
Yep, Lawson is pointing out that, yeah, you need to make sure all of the things that you're making cyclic are the same length. Otherwise, you end up with this kind of situation. Let's say this thing is repeating about that length, and then it's going on like that. And if you make something shorter and tell it to repeat, even slightly shorter, we have that, then we have that. And then over time, these will drift further and further out of sync. And so if we look at yours, perhaps this one, or no, this one. Here. Yep. I mean, it's very slight. Let's see. This one is, yeah. If we were to grab them as is here, and I move them all back at the same point, there we go. And you can see here, right? And so I moved them all back so they all have the same starting point. They do not have the same ending point, right? And so in order to make this technique work as we were doing it, you would need to make sure that they are all the same length. Then you can offset them, exactly. And then the cyclic, regardless of how far you drag them, as long as you don't change their total length, then their relationship will remain consistent in perpetuity after that. So, yeah, just it's just the facts about how looping works, right? When we have loops of different lengths playing at the same speed, they will not line up. And so this becomes, it's important to understand this, because if you want to loop a character, like everything that you've keyframed in a character needs to have a keyframe at the beginning and needs to have a keyframe at the end. Otherwise, you have this happening in the body, where like the arm is doing something in a pattern that doesn't line up with the repeating pattern of the torso, which is almost never what you want to have happen.
How to explain that any better? But like, even just for example, how high it starts over here, and then by the end you can see it's getting lower and less exaggerated each time. And that's not something I did on purpose. That's something that's happening when I set it on that cycle, the F curve cycle, and then the scale.
Cool. All right. Well, I'm glad. We had two issues there that I'm sure other people ran into. And yeah, I'm really glad we were able to demonstrate correcting those. I think that'll be valuable for everybody. Excellent. Here's Lawson's.
Hello, I'm Lawson. All these animations are cyclic, which just means they repeat. First of all, we have my simple object parent rig as well as my armature rig. And this is the graph editor. You can see that the curves repeat even past the start, so that animation can repeat smoothly from the end back to the beginning. And
Did you put that in there as an edit later?
you can offset this by adjusting the keyframe position, which is changing the phase, and that's it. I also have my phase offset position for these cubes. And then I applied that for scale with these gray spheres.
Cool. I like that. You kind of did it in.
And then finally we have this stretch to armature rig for the green sphere, which I then reused for a motion capture of my mouse, and then applied it to this fire extinguisher that I made myself.
Yeah, I think we should just call it mouse mocap, right? Because in most instances, that'll mean moving your mouse around. In some very small amount of instances, it'll mean designing a very small suit with like tiny little ping pong balls on it, even smaller ping pong balls for a mouse, and then putting that mouse in front of the camera and then filming that mouse.
I'm sorry, I want to nerd out for this. There's this game called Stray, where you play as a cat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I played with Stray. Yeah, yeah.
Finished it
Yeah.
It took ages for them to capture the cat's movement because you can't tell a cat what to do. Come
Mhm,
on.
mhm.
And so they literally just put a suit on a cat with a bunch of dots and just let the cat do stuff.
And then went back and edited it later. Yeah. No, I didn't even know they had done cat mocap for that. Is there a video on that, like a making of?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
post that on Discord. I want to see that. Yeah, I have not finished it. Lawson said he just finished it.
Yeah, I did the whole game yesterday.
I want to do.
Yeah.
I didn't get the game yet. I can't decide to get it on Windows or Nintendo.
Yeah, I got
Mm.
it on Nintendo because it doesn't have the achievements, and I just
Yeah, so the game we're talking about here in terms of like, I mean, I was making a joke about the mouse mocap, but apparently people have actually done cat mocap.
I love how there's a cat on the board. That kind of.
Oh, did somebody just draw that? The cat, that wasn't, or the mouse wasn't there this morning. Did one of you guys draw the mouse?
mouse.
There's no. That's. I think that's a fox
Looks like a fox.
or a
a
dog
wolf.
or a
something
wolf.
like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Okay, wolf.
That was good. That was there yesterday.
Yeah, but the cat wasn't. The cat's new. I love the cat.
But none of you guys drew the cat?
I didn't.
It wasn't here this morning. Either that or someone's trying to drive me crazy.
Maybe you just are.
Yeah, so again, we're talking about this one. I've played like an hour of it. It's outstanding. One of the published by Annapurna Games, right? Someone else developed it. Is that correct? Yeah, Blue 12, but published by Annapurna Games. Like, yeah, I mean, I can fully endorse their development and publishing. Lots of really, really interesting games that they do. And then this one, also like really, I thought visually compelling. Some of their games are super like visually simple, but really functionally interesting. This one looks amazing and is also super fun.
Level decoration.
It's like a cyberpunky retro.
Yeah.
art style.
It's cat cyber. Yeah, it's cyberpunk cat.
Ran
Yeah.
it, yeah, on Nintendo Switch, but it was still pretty well optimized for all the good stuff that it
Yeah. I played it on PS5, so I mean it was fine.
Hello.
Okay, yeah, Lawson, great job. Well done.
This is Desmond. This is my week 5 for my animation. Starting off, which what you can tell.
Is that a different cursor?
No, it's the same. I think it's the same cursor. It just doesn't have the ghost behind it.
Oh, okay.
All in one, because I want them to be walls of different animation for each of them, so it make it easier for me, so I can do it all in one window, and it's just look cool having all of them in one spot and seeing all the different animation. And then for the F scale for them.
Okay, yeah, that's fine from a simplicity standpoint in terms of like getting all the stuff done. I mean, part of what we're also working on here is sort of like staging these things to have them look graphically and artistically compelling and well polished. So that job becomes harder when you just got a ton of stuff going on.
Alright. You know, simple. Oh. And all the different scale, and then
Okay, Desmond, you got to start off with just hit play. And then also, I would prefer if you actually rendered it and then showed us the render so that we can see the animation, right? Just scrubbing through the keyframes makes it really hard for us to. Also, your 1F curve there looks strange. There's like a hitch in the curve there.
For my design for my bind it to the scale, which why I have it there like this, because I want it to be like like a MP3 player thing, like a little up and down and stuff,
Yeah, those are the levels. I mean, this is a weird situation we find ourselves in now, where like most of the time we're seeing this a fake version of this on our phones of like these levels going up and down, which is actually not driven by the actual audio that you're listening to. And so like the original idea here was to see how much volume we're having per frequency band. Now it's just sort of like random bars going up and down communicates the idea that like sound is playing. But it's not your fault. It's just weird.
We pick with a thing, and then the bow function one making is it pretty much work as make bones and then you connect them and stretch them and tight. You play a collection and the ball rig to the top bone, like a little how this part a controller, and then you just make it, stretch out and stuff. My scuff is playing it, and then question. I don't really have any question this week because this was pretty easy. I making a video because I almost forgot to make this thing. Done.
Okay, it was easy. That's great. Next week, try and make it look good, right? Just think about what it looks like, right? Versus getting all the stuff in the scene, trying to think about like presenting it in a way that looks, perhaps a little bit more polished. Would be, especially if you're ahead of the curve or ahead of if you have extra time, that would be what I would recommend there. Here is, you got all the animation happening. That's good. Here's Aaron.
Hey all, here are all 5 of my scenes for this week's assignment. Starting off, for follow-through, we have the ropes, the one on the left made with objects, and the one on the right made with bones.
Awesome. Right, so Aaron's not only thought about the staging, but also the punctuation. With objects, comma, with bones, period. Right, better, yeah.
I wasn't able to get them to loop infinitely because I wanted to have them in the starting position that's different from every other position, and for whatever reason, the cyclic modifier doesn't allow you to restrict what frames you're actually cycling. There may be a workaround for that, but I
mean, I think
just select the specific frames and then add a start. You change the start position. You just select the ones you want cycled. Make it so it doesn't cycle throughout the start.
Oh, yeah. Well, I believe you're applying it to the track. So I don't know if you get to say that. I mean, in terms of not having it start, like both of these start at the same time, that would just be a matter of taking these keyframes and once you've made them cyclic, you slide them left or right
Oh no, he's
to
saying
display
he wanted
instead.
To be at a different position and then swing into the kind of curved up and then come back down into a different position instead of just the flat. So he wanted to go. So he wanted a different starting position compared to when it swings back.
Oh, well, I mean, that's just not a loop at that point. So, let me hear him say again.
That's different from every other position, and for whatever reason, the cyclic with objects on the one on the right made with bones. I wasn't able to get them to loop infinitely because I wanted to have the starting position that's different from every other position, and for whatever reason, the cyclic modifier doesn't allow you to restrict.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I don't think. Let's see here. Okay, and so now, if it does something else, or actually, we'll do it over here. Okay, so there's some other position there, and then it goes like this. And so you're saying that if we select these and say make cyclic, we'll just loop those?
It should, as long as you change. There's a start thing you can modify. Might not pop up.
And then, well, we're doing it with the command here.
Because I would use like the modifiers tab for cyclic if I wanted to change something like that. Yeah, right there. Well, yeah, modifiers. There's a under add curve. Right at the.
Where do I type? Oh, yeah, right here. Yeah.
And then the cyclic, which is just cycles in this. And then you can just.
Hold on. Wait. Did I clear the other thing? Yeah, I cleared the other thing. Okay. And so now in here. Okay. So the thing is, you need to make in order to get.
You can restrict frame range right there.
Okay. The thank you. So the modifiers for keyframes, right? You've got to have. This is the interface gets a little wonky here. You've got to get down to the actual keyframe location, not further up in the hierarchy. Okay. Then, because if you click somewhere else, the modifiers tab is not available. And so you got to get down to here. And then I'm talking about this modifiers tab, not this thing. Okay, these are geometry modifiers. These are keyframe modifiers. And so cycles here. And so here, restrict frame range. And so if we start and okay, so we do this. And we do that.
Oh, almost got it. That should be.
And then we say do it more. Or here.
Or you might have to adjust the end more.
And then we still get that in there. Blend in, blend out. And still giving us that hitch. Yeah.
If you set the start to the keyframe that is right after the dip, the big dip at the start, like the specific keyframe number, like that.
Let's see.
5 on the start.
Yeah, it's still looking at the whole
But this
thing.
seems a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean this is falling under the Blender category of like technically there's a way to do it, but the manifestation of such a thing. Yeah. I mean the direct drive answer here to your question, Aaron, is that let me get rid of this thing. Would be to the old-fashioned loop, the copy and paste, right? Like when all else fails, remember all these procedural tools are just faster ways of doing something, you know. But if it ceases being faster and easier, the procedural tool is not worth it, right? And so here, you know, I've just looped it by copy and pasting, right? So that would be the direct drive way to go about it. But yeah, thank you for that, Lawson. Yeah, it seems like it should be possible to do it with there, and it very well may be, but as per usual, like we may just be one checkbox away somewhere in Blender. You know, like the good news is that you're probably one checkbox away from solving your problem in Blender. The bad news is no one knows where that checkbox.
Scale, quite similar as you're about to see. Both have that little wind up at the start with the first cube, and then they all just, the remainder of the cubes just follow along with the phases of each of the animations offset to create a follow-through effect, and you'll see this here with the scale. And let it play again, of course with a bit of rotation there to give it some flair and for the anticipation. And I'll show that in Blender. You can see all of the cube's F-curves here, and if I select multiple of them at once, you can see
Yeah, we actually can't see this,
phase
Aaron.
offset where each consecutive cube has the same
Maybe it's on another screen, or
sequence of
you have
animations,
OBS
just
set to the
offset
window,
so that it looks like
something like that.
each is causing the other to move in series. Then moving on, the squash.
Yeah, I bet that's it. You have OBS set to capture the video player,
Yeah.
but not Blender. Either that or you got a separate screen.
Stretch rig. You can see there, probably shouldn't have been the top bone probably shouldn't have been hanging there so long. There are other improvements to be made, I'm sure, but it's of course got the two control bones, one at the top and one at the bottom, and then the center bone with the stretch 2 constraint. If I bring it up here, you can see for mine, I have this top bone.
So we can all kind of mentally envision what he's describing.
Alright, sorry. I have the center bone here with the stretch 2 constraint, so that it stretches the top bone, and then for ease of control, a just disconnected bottom bone here that copies the location, or that the center bone copies the location of. And of course that.
And I think you forgot the U in squashing. What is that? Squashing?
Allows it to stretch between those with two anchor points while maintaining volume as it says in the stretch 2 constraint. And lastly, the quote-unquote mocap. For an additional object, I chose just that radio I found on Sketchfab. And I just had that loop once. It's pretty self-explanatory.
Cool.
That should be about it for this week's scenes. See ya.
Awesome. Great. Very well done, Aaron. Absolutely. Yeah, everybody, be aware that there's no underlined spell check that happens by default when you type the text in there. But yeah, those are all super well done. Here is...
Hello everybody, this is Trenton Hiller, and this is my week 5 follow-through and exaggeration animation. This is my first one. Here's my second one. I have them set up on a loop within the loop of this video.
Yep, definitely shade smooth.
For the animation design I went with, for like the approach, I want to give everything their own feel. For this, I kind of thought of a gym bag that you would punch and try to give it more of a weight. For the bone rigging one, which is this one, I gave it I kept with the like basic tension feeling of everything, so it doesn't curl quite. It clenches here like an arm. And for the blocks, I just thought of, sci-fi labyrinth design approach for the animation so that everything smooths, kind of like a sideways spine. In terms of my F-curves on these particular ones, they're all like this. I pretty much made sure to space them so that they weren't in complete sync, so that they would get the kind of effect this has, so they're not just standing straight with one another, but flowing more like this to stay, out of phase. This is applied to all of them so that there is some sort of, motion gain, some momentum to the swing of them all. And can't remember what was the one thing I need to check what the next part was. Yes. And for the ball rigs, hold on, right, I gotta click on the bone. For these, I pretty much just, followed along and did the stretching to make sure that they were two bones split, not separated, so that everything would squash and stretch within itself. Here's the viewport version of it. And for questions, I don't have any questions this week. I think everything went pretty well. I really like how everything came out on my end. But I'm looking forward to what feedback people may have. Thanks everybody for watching.
Animation looks like it's going great. Wow, it's a really cute puppy. Is that your puppy? The animation looks like it's great. Maybe take some time to start thinking about the staging a little bit in terms of like the look and polish of the objects within the scene. But you got the animation nuts and bolts happening for sure. Who is this? Someone not putting their name on their files. Who is that? Ed. Is it this one? I thought I had downloaded Ed's correct one. There we go. Ed put his name on this file. There we go.
Hi, my name is Edward Martinez, and this is what I did for the week 5 assignment. The middle one moves a lot weaker than the other two because it's the middle section, and I just thought that looked better. And then this is what I did for the bone animation.
Yeah, so here, this is a little off in that whatever's happening here, like these are ahead of that one, which is not what we would want to have happening in this particular swinging in this direction. So that's not quite right.
There's multiple of them, they're just offset from each other. It follows a pretty similar principle to the other one where the middle section is
Yeah, that's why these feel stiff instead of loose.
Weaker than the rest of them. So it's just, I don't know. The boxes don't really follow that pattern. They're evenly spaced, so each one moves in the same way, just offset from the one previous to it, and it ended up creating a slightly like round shape in the motion. I don't know how to
Sinusoidal. It's a.
describe that.
Thank you for rendering and playing the.
This is what I did for the scale. I wanted to make a pulsating thing, so much like the cubes, they all move. They're all evenly spaced in their frames, and they go one after the other. The opposite is just the bottom one, but rotated. There's a squash and stretch. I had to change a little bit how I worked with this one, especially in making it cyclic. It doesn't. You can't really freeze it the way you would like a normal thing to like keep it in place. Both.
Yeah, you just have to keyframe that differently. You could either drag the Bezier handles out longer at the top of the curve, so grabbing the handles here and here, out further to sort of give you more coyote time up at the top, because that's a little bit lacking in this one. I feel like for the amount of cartoonish appearance we have, we need some more coyote time, which would then give us a steeper slope returning to the earth, which would, more velocity, which is the other area this is lacking, not really coming down that fast.
Objects have, both ends have to be stopped, but they don't necessarily get stopped at the same time. And then for the bottom one, just a bunch of decimation, top of the motion capture. Also lift it up slightly off the ground, because it would clip into the ground all the time. The first couple of scenes were all done on the same like blend thing, because I didn't realize they were going to be different scenes at first. This is the graphs for the objects. The middle one is this one here. It's a lot weaker than the other two.
Yeah, so this is the root of the issue here, is that, yeah, there should be some angling like this here. These two stayed too straight, or at times this one was actually coming forward like this. Just makes that one look stiff.
This is the actual cylinder object. This is all of the graphs together. This is the individual graphs. This is what the cubes look like. Like I said, they're evenly spaced. There's not much to them aside from that. They're also attached to an empty here. And this is the squash and stretch. The top graph. And the bottom graph.
Yeah, so this one, here's our culprit, right? We just have a keyframe here and a keyframe here. And so Bezier is doing this interpolation very smoothly between here and here, which results in a definite deceleration happening towards the ground. Whereas we all know now, what does gravity do as you get closer to the ground as you're falling? You get what? What happens to your velocity? Increases, right? That's the problem with falling off of things. The higher they are, the bigger the problem you have, in that you have more velocity when you hit the ground. Okay, good start.
It increases up to a point.
Yes. When we bring in air resistance for things that aren't super heavy, it does increase. And then if we go really fast, we'll actually burn up and never hit the ground. But we're just not talking about that right now. Here's Diana.
Hi, I'm Diana, and let me show the video. This is the video of the animations. Okay, let me go to Blender. So this is the curve for these tail things. And then and for the cubes, this is the curves, and they're all just shifted. So it looks like they're following each other, but they're just delayed in the same animation. They're just delaying the same animation, but it looks like they're following each other. And now this is the squash and stretch animation. I did put it on the ground now. So, let me play it. And
That's good. Again, more velocity coming down, I think would look better. And then, yeah, the point of using this kind of rig would be to do something very exaggerated. So, setting up this whole rig might be overkill for just doing a very slight, subtle squash and stretch.
the top bone is the controller. So if I grab this, it'll squish it, but then the bottom one can also squish, but from the bottom. And oh, let me. Okay. Hi, I'm Diana, and let me.
Okay, was that it? That was the end of it? Yep. Okay, very good, Deanna. Those look good. You got everything in place there. Next thing to try is the motion capture stuff. Try and get one of those happening. I think it's a useful thing to understand. Not only the motion capture, but then also the idea that motion capture produces a lot of keyframes. Decimating or reducing those keyframes can be very useful. Here's Amy.
Hello. These are my follow through and exaggeration animations. For the first ones, we have the chain of objects using phase offset, then the bone chains. Down here we have the cube wave, and then finally the follow through using scale. I don't really know how to explain my animation decision, since all I did was basically copy the video. There wasn't much of a creative thought process when it came to these ones. Same with like the follow through with scale. I was originally planning on making it a heart shape, but the timing kept being wrong and I kind of got annoyed, so I just gave up with it. And I just ended up making like a straight line. And then for Blender, here are some of screenshots of the follow through F curves. All of them basically look similar. The phase offset is basically just moving the animation to a different starting point, which delays its animation and gives the whole animation a feeling of a follow through. It was the same case with the scale follow through. All I did was move the starting points of each object to delay it. Back to the video. These are my exaggeration animations. So, yeah. Basically for this one, let me go back. Basically for this one, we put two bones in a sphere, one that controls the top, and then one that controls the bottom. And then we just move the top control to give it a squash. And I think that's all for now.
Okay, great. You got those happening. You got the what's the word I'm looking for? The motion capture in there. I think I downloaded a couple people a bunch of times. Okay, almost done.
Hello, my name is Shyla, and here is my week 5 follow through in the rigging, squish and stretch animations. I'll play right here. My process was basically what was like outlined. So you model it and then like basically set it up. And then you get to the keyframing or like blocking out, and you can use like the constant interpolation. And then after I finished like tuning it or whatever, and then I made it into like a cyclic extrapolation so that it would loop over and over. And then after that, I like duplicated whatever I needed to duplicate if it included a duplication, and then I would delay those things. So like with the cubes, I just delayed the second one, and then with this one, we did it in the video. You would just go down these cylinders and delay those keyframes a little bit. Alright, and here are my curves for the follow-through design. So I'm just gonna focus on this one. So as you can see, I have link 0, link 1, link 2, and then I just animated that Y rotation right here, and as you can see, it's all delayed, so that's what the phase offset is. It creates this like illusion that there's a delay or like a drag behind, and it's usually like to replicate something in real life that maybe hangs from another object that moves. So this implies that this one's moving. For my scaling animation, I followed the same process as with the cube. So I created this first cube and I animated it and then duplicated it over and then just delayed those things after making it cyclic. And then there it is. Alright, and then to attempt to explain the rig, rigging is kind of new to me, so I'm not exactly sure, but I think what happened is that we made the big bone take up the whole sphere because it's not going to bend, so we were kind of like saving that shape so that the like squishing could happen outside the sphere as if something is forcing it to be squashed down. And so I think that if we like did this with the joint in the middle, so we had the bone come up here and then connect it up here, it would make some like weird squishing in the middle rather than what we got. I think that the top bone basically would be like another force on the bottom bone, and then the object, this sphere, is just mirroring what these two bones are doing. I think that's what happened. That said, I do have some questions, like why did we make this one small? Did it have to be small? And also, why did we separate them? Like,
Okay, we separated it up here because this bone, Blender wants it to be a bone, but it's not functioning like a bone that's going to control mesh. It's functioning like a controller, right? And so we separated it. Because it's a controller in a lot of instances, but maybe not all instances. When you make a bone a controller, or you would separate it out. Certainly when you're using it with like the IK, like we did on Monday, or when you're using it with the Stretch 2 or the damped track. In those three instances, it would be a separate thing, right? And when we went through our list of things, remember, if we use it as a controller, we want to say no deform, right? So that it's not going to be in the system that actually does this. And then we also changed the appearance for the bone. So yeah, that's one of the reasons. As far as making it small, yeah, like that's fairly arbitrary, like, because you can change, once we change the appearance, you can choose how big you want the controller thing to be that you click on. And so, yeah, it's just been my practice to make those smaller. It just makes it easier to sort of find them at that point. And then you are correct in that the whole sphere is mapped to that one bone. The top bone just serves as a controller.
What would happen if we kept them both connected, these two bones?
Yeah, the squash and stretch constraint would not work if we kept them connected.
And that's about it. Thank you.
Right? If I do this, there you go. There you go. Here. E. There you go. If these aren't separated, and I go over to pose mode, and press G, it doesn't move. It's just rotating because these are connected, right? So we have to separate, split, right? When we're just speaking, the words separate and split kind of mean the same thing. For Blender, split is always, keep it in the same object, where separate is make a new object. Okay, good questions.
Hey Casey, so here is my video with everything moving back and forth. The first one created, and then the bounce, and then the stretch and rig functions. For my F curve, this is it for the follow through video. Looks like almost like a giant slinky to me.
Yeah, I mean, that's all of the curves at the same time, so it's kind of tough to parse visually. And you have the normalize on, so they're all kind of the same height. So, I mean, that makes it a little, it's hard to read. I mean, partially because you have this on right now, and you're looking at everything. So that makes it pretty jumbled up visually.
And as far as, let's see how. So with the F curve on this, it is flowing through. I can't remember what you called it. A sends type format.
Sine wave? Is that what it's?
And then I don't have any questions. I know for this.
Yeah, the swinging tubes look kind of lumpy. So I think you may be suffering from the issue where what we described with Gage, where the loops were different lengths, and then as time goes on, they drift further and further out of sync. I think that may be happening here. In addition to, it looks like maybe you created some extra bones here than other.
I know for this video, so I Shift D this first one, moved it over, then redid these two, or did these two. But then when I went back to this first one, all the points somehow deleted. So I'm not sure if there's something I did wrong, or if when I shifted it just automatically copied these points, because all I did was deflate. So pretty much.
You got to be conscientious when you're shifting that you have everything selected that you want to duplicate. Perhaps you duplicated the armature without the mesh, or vice versa. Something like that may have.
Right there, and then it just stayed there. So it didn't do anything else. No, I don't have any questions besides that. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. The same issue here, right? When this is at its swinging position, all of the angles here should be in the same direction, right? This is the take me back to geometry class. We have our right angle, and then an obtuse angle is going to be larger than 90 degrees. An acute angle is going to be less than 90 degrees. Correct? Is that correct? Yeah. Okay. So these are technically obtuse. Anyways, they're both going in this direction, right? You have them, this one going kind of correctly, and then this one is definitely not right there. So,
hey Casey.
Although let's look at the actual video. I didn't really get to see them in action. It happened very quickly, very, very quickly. Yeah, that was just a bad freeze frame. The green ones look okay. The red one is... I feel like it's... yeah, some of this may be happening with the red one. Not quite sure how you got it quite so lumpy there.
It might be the topology.
Yeah, let's look at his blend file. Yeah, that looks like surprisingly okay.
Or the weights thing?
Yeah, let's look over there.
Weights not, yeah, it's the weights. Is it? Actually, no, wait.
It looks okay.
The weights for
That's
the
just one bone.
Yeah. Yeah, the weights could spread out a little bit more.
What
Just a
happens
little
if you
bit.
just like repair them to, would it fix it? Topology was added afterwards, and it just didn't.
You could also try setting bendy bones.
Wait,
That sometimes fits
that may be a solution. It's not going to be this solution. That didn't do it.
I would just use the blur tool. It's easier. It's not changing. Oh wait, it's changing it slight amount. There it
Oh, it
goes.
is kind of fixed.
Yeah, I don't.
Weird way to happen. Usually it's pretty good at automatically doing it.
Yeah, especially for something this simple. Everybody else had fine-ish results. It's sort of strange that this one ended up weird. I tend to think it's what Lawson was saying, that geometry may have been added after the weighting, automatic weighting.
That could be the culprit. But usually it also does a good job updating. I think the general consensus though is never to modify your topology after you start weighting.
Yes, that is. Oh, okay. There's a big difference between the bones and the mesh here. Okay, this is.
Looks like it's scaled up, kind of.
Jump, jump, jump. Right, what's wrong here? Yeah. Yeah. Apply scale before rigging. And what Arlenka said is also true. Once you begin the rigging process, you are done with the modeling process. Don't add more stuff to your model. That's a formula for disaster. And then, yeah, here. Okay, so Thomas, apply scale, Control A, scale, Control A, scale. That's the root of your problems here. Because the armature modifier is a modifier. And if I were to say, I don't know what this is going to do after the fact, hold on to your butts. Nothing.
You probably have to reweight it.
Yeah, reweight it. But yeah, the armature does function through the modifier. You know, you don't really. We haven't done anything to touch the modifier directly. Everything we've been doing is in the all the other stuff, and so that may be not clear to you. But just like all the other modifiers, they really depend on 1-1-1 applied scale. Okay, good. Again, we're being pretty good Blender detectives today.
No, I have to admit, if you use like an array modifier or something like that, it is kind of fun to play around with scaling your object because you get some fun results.
I don't think it's fun. As a teacher, I can't endorse not having 1-1-1 scale. I can't do it. Here we go. I mean, if you want to do wild stuff, right? But it's been a source of pain for many students. Where is This is Crimson's.
Found out how to make a little
Is this
guy,
Crimson?
little VTuber like thing.
Ah, I didn't recognize Crimson because she's a Minecraft character now. Well, congratulations on entering the Matrix.
For me, so I'm gonna use it for this week just because I think it's cool. Don't expect this always, but hi, it's Crimson, and this is my week 5 assignment. And so here's the video.
In Minecraft, you can't have hair that's kind of like off the block like that.
It's a story mode model, it looks like.
Oh, okay.
Also,
Different game.
it's if you mod your Minecraft, you can do that.
You can't do that.
So we just put it up here. I will say that my favorite thing to do this week was definitely like the
That feels super.
tails for like the follow through. It was just really satisfying to mess with it.
Yes, very true. Speak the truth here, right? Like there's all the technical stuff with the keyframes, but then the experience of watching the animation, is it intuitively satisfying? That should be a good.
I especially liked adding the array, like a little back and forth with the boxes. Like that was pretty fun. I noticed looking back on it that this box here does like a little jitter. But I really, really liked doing the tails. And I struggled a little bit with this ball, mainly for like the middle, like going down bit. I feel like I did it way too slow, but I like the little bounce afterwards.
I agree. It is too slow, right? We get this zoop, and then like a slow returning back to earth. We want it to stretch itself towards the ground and then splat out.
So I need to get better with the rigging for that. And then this is the mocap one versus the regular one. It's screen recorded right now because my Wi-Fi was not letting me render it right, and I don't want to turn it in late. So there's that.
I'm not sure the Wi-Fi is going to stop the render. That should be a totally in-house, unless you're doing some like crazy cloud rendering I'm not aware of at this point. It should be a totally in-house thing, but the Wi-Fi could have totally stopped you from uploading it. That's definitely possible.
Now, if we open the actual Blender, you can see.
Do you know, is she using, what program are you using? You're using for the Vito 2? Is this?
If I go into pose mode, I need the armature. If I go into pose mode, what the keyframes are looking like, that's the top, here's the bottom. And then for the mocapped one, this armature, so look at pose mode, here's the top. As you can see, because of the mocap, the way it works, that all of them are really close together like that. And then the bottom isn't animated. And then if we go to the follow through, you can see here, there's all of them there. And then if I select all of these, see the keyframes for those and how it keeps looping. And then you can't see the bones. Hold on, where's my bones? Why won't the bones show up? Oh, because it's not in pose mode. There we go. There's the bones. And then obviously all the bones under that. I wish I made the tail a little longer and skinnier. I don't think it looks that bad, but it does look just kind of like fat and funny, I guess. Well, that's.
What does she have on the left here? Who is?
I think that's the Discord overlay.
Oh, it's like a Discord overlay that's like on your computer all the time?
Only when you're in the call.
Oh, okay.
That's pretty much it. Like I said, I enjoyed the tails a lot, and then I pointed out that this box in the middle jumps a little. I just like how smooth these were, and I struggled a little bit with the rigging of the ball. But yeah, that's my week 5.
Okay, good job, good process. Those looked really, really smooth. It probably needs a second pass on the squash and stretch ball. Here's Arlinka.
Oh wait, hold on. I forgot to explain my ball rig. So can you possibly open my files?
You talk over your video.
No, I have to show it because I. So do you have the
pull up the web file and then explain it.
Yeah, but like I don't want to go through the special files to find it.
No, he's doing it. He's gonna find
You didn't
it,
up.
and you get to be the streamer today.
You didn't.
I did upload it. I uploaded on the link.
Oh, on Google Drive.
Yeah.
Was it too big for?
It's not that it's too big. It's just sometimes if I upload big-ish files, it fails on Canvas, and I don't want to risk that anymore. So videos.
I don't have access. I just requested access.
Why it is public? I don't know why it does that.
Yeah, and I wish you could just set a setting so that things would be available.
Maybe it's because it's a school account.
Yeah, well, the account I'm logged in is. I have like 5 accounts because of GCC madness, and so how I'm logged in at any one time is who knows.
Yeah,
But
I was a little rushed when I was doing recording, so I completely forgot to explain it. And it's these are bunch of bones.
or wait, I'm not sure I requested the right file. Hold on. Okay, now I think I just requested it.
Give me 2 seconds. It says you're outside of our.
It says that for it tells me all my students are outside my Maricopa network. It's just lame. Yeah, it's crazy because I'm sending out all the awards for the Artist of Promise thing right now, and it's constantly warning me that all these people are outside the network, even they all go to school. It's like, yeah, it's
The reason I want to explain it is because I did it a little differently. Because I'm doing like an online reading class, and I used my knowledge from that class to.
No, wait, here it is. Let me open it in 5.
It's very.
There you go. All right.
No, it's just a first simulation. Just gonna delete the keyframes. Okay. So there's a bunch of bones. First off, this is my deform bone. I know it's like positioned weirdly, but it's something to do with the alignment, which makes it more organized on the animator graph. So this is the main deforming bone. That's what the ball is parented to. Then I've got I forgot what it stands for, an ORG bone. Essentially all it does is it the deformation bone copies all the transformation constraints from the ORG bone. So when you bake your animations, it prevents glitchy things from happening. Then this bone is parented to, forgot which one it was. Yeah, this bone is parented to a rotation bone. This bone is what allows it it allows it to rotate, right? Yeah, I think the weights broke on export, but essentially when you rotate this, then the whole the ball rotates. Oh wait, hold on, I'm being done. I'm dumb. Yeah, so there it's rotating, but you can see all the other bones remains in place. So then the rotation bone is parented to the MCH tweak bone. This bone is what controls the tweaking. So these the MCH bone is then parented to the main tweak base, and this tweak bone is parented to the root. So that if you remove the root, all the bones move with it. And then when you move the tweaker bone, it squishes the MCH tweak bone because it has a stretch to constraint pointing to this bone. And because the MCH tweak bone is parented to the base bone, the tweak bone, MCH tweak bone, follows it. And because again it uses a stretch to constraint, it's pointing to the other tweaker bone. And then of course the root bone moves everything else because all the bones that doesn't have a parent is parented to the root bone. So yeah, it's a bit different. I did it a bit differently, but yeah.
Great. You're saying MCH?
Mechanism bone.
Okay. Mechanism bone. Okay. Would you feel comfortable posting this blend file on Discord so everybody could check it out? Yeah. That would be awesome.
And also I used what was it called? I used an add-on for the making these shapes for the controllers. What makes this add-on really cool is you can just select your bone and select which shape preset you want, and it changes it, and then you can also change the size and position in the add-on without having to worry about the complexities of doing it through normal.
Do you know which one it is?
Search rig. I think it's, what was it? Let me check on my Rigify. No, it's not Rigify. I figured. I think it only shows up in pose mode actually. Yeah, it's rigging. If you go into pose mode, it's the tool pops up as a rigging. Let me just search the name of the add-on.
Yeah, I think just because it's not on your computer, it's not active here.
So do the bones look different on your machine, or do they look like this?
No, it looks like the it's called Bone Widgets. That's the name.
Bone Widgets.
So yeah, so the add-on comes with pre-made presets because the way you originally make bone shapes is through the custom shapes, but you make it you model it as well. And
this is it?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
So
it just makes making custom shapes much easier.
For the controllers, yeah.
It's basically doing what Rigify does, but it has more.
It's more like the thing about Rigify is it has its own automation, but if you like hand make rigs, this makes your life so much easier.
If you want to hand make a rig, this is a lot easier for.
Yeah, I mean this is just shapes for the bones as controllers, yeah.
And
So
you can make your own widgets and add it to.
I figured that's always good. Something for like the eyes to follow, that shape or something. That's good.
does this come up in the menu?
And it's free, which is also.
Oh, that's the
If,
best part
if you
of anything.
if you go into pose mode, then it'll pop up.
So if you loop the tweak bar, does it rotate it without like the sheet, the mesh without actually?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
So if
that's what I
you
figured.
squash the ball, you can still rotate it, and then it
I
will
don't-
keep the squash.
it will keep the squash.
Okay.
It's over here?
That's what that was for. That's
Yeah.
that's cool.
It might just because you haven't had you don't have.
Yeah,
it
I think
installed on your
you would have to
computer.
install it yourself to actually, because it's not. I don't think it adds.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
modifiers
Don't
that
worry.
you have to go and find it online to.
It's right there in extensions.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy. It doesn't come up like the search. We ran into something this morning. Like when you use these are useful, but not. It's not like Google search where it knows to show you that. If you search for rig, even though it's like a rigging thing, it just you have to search for bone, or widget, or bone widget, or perhaps widget bone, but maybe not. So great. Okay, awesome. Thank you very much, Arlinka. And
Still need to show my render though.
That was just for one.
Yeah. Hello, here is my assignment for the week. I'm just gonna show the videos because it's easier. Here is the tail wag animation. This is the object offset with the follow through, and the one with the bones. And just for the fun of it, I added fur. Okay, here is the cubes. That's scale. This one was quite fun. Then the extreme squash. And the mocap. I don't know why it's so fast though. Strange.
I mean,
Your scroll wheel or something. And it just,
I don't know.
I mean, you have the fur on there, so like, or hair. Is it hair?
I animated it without with the fur disabled.
Okay, yeah. I mean, yeah, just playing back slower. I mean, does the frame rate show up if you have that stats thing on? Up
I
here.
also originally animated it along that one video about the Dog of Wisdom, but something happened and my keyframes disappeared.
Yeah, so it does show up if you have the stats on. So checking in with that to see if like you're actually seeing whatever it is that you're after there in terms. Does this get here? Do I?
I'll just reopen it because I deleted the keyframes when
you must have just like scroll wheeled it while you were adjusting
I don't
in the
know.
render tab or something.
I really don't know what happened. I only saw it when I made the video, and honestly, I was so tired. I didn't have energy to render everything.
That's fair enough. Good. That's pretty right.
Yeah, it's still getting 24 FPS on this machine. Anyways, yeah, now that we know how to do more stuff, here, stats, then over here, when you hit play, you can see, is what I'm currently watching the actual frame rate render? And if not, then know that whatever happened with Arlinka is that's what's going to happen. The render will look faster than what you have.
You can enable frame dropping, so it will play at the right rate, but if it
Yeah.
can't handle the frames, it will just skip it.
Yeah.
If I had to play it a few times to get the full gist of it. This is about the timeline. The little clock.
Over here,
that the dope sheet or just the regular timeline?
This is the regular timeline.
Oh, sorry. It should be on the playback. That's what I meant. The little playback button right next to the keying at the second tab down there.
Oh, this guy?
On the playback. On the side. Left. Left. All the way. There you go. Right at the playback.
Oh, over here. Okay, yeah.
Change the play every frame at the top to
Yeah.
dropping.
So this means we'll slow down if we have too many frames. This means that we'll skip frames to try and show you the actual speed.
Yeah. It'll
So.
try, but you have to do it a couple times to get it. Especially for lower end machines.
Excellent.
Hello, this is Mark Wise, and this is my week 5 presentation. So first of all, we're going to start off with, nope, that's the wrong one. I'm going to start off with follow
Yay, Mark,
so
right.
here we have follow through. I'm going to let that loop
Mark, you didn't add any materials or.
for a bit. Is there a loop setting? Nope, there is not. Let's go, just keep going. All right, there you go. Loop. I'm going to play it a couple more times there. Do. And the
Yeah, so rendering more than one loop would also help.
balls are rather easy. It's again, it's just shifting them. That wasn't too hard. And then the next thing is the exaggeration here. So actually, I really enjoyed doing the rig for this. This was actually really fun. I don't know why. It was just really fun. And then on this right side here, the mocap one, I kind of just wiggled my mouse around and I just did that as well. Like I reached as far as I could for a second. Yeah. All right. And then the F curves. So let me show you my F curves. Here's my F curves. So F curves. Yep. These look amazing.
Yeah, so especially once you make everything cyclic, increasing the amount of time on the timeline makes for a more readable render.
And then probably show off the. Sorry.
Whoa. Okay. So this, yeah, however you ended up at this, Mark, either with, yeah, you either subdivided or you did the remeshing on it. Can't quite even tell if they're quads or not. Yeah, this is definitely going to be too heavy for typical rigging. It worked out in this case because we have 3 bones and it's a tube or whatever. But yeah, this is going to be such that weight painting it would be, prohibitive there if you had to make, fine changes to it or something like that. So keep that in mind.
The F curves for the bones here as well. And then finally, my squash and stretch exaggeration. Alrighty, here we go. And here's the squash and stretch one here. And I'm going to let that play through. And yep, that looks good. So the rig is really simple. It's basically just, why is this sideways? I never put that sideways. It wasn't sideways when I am. That's so weird. Okay, anyways. Ah, that's why. Okay.
Those are the control.
Okay, well, it still functions, so. Yeah, so the squash and stretch rig is basically it's a rig, and then our rig is inside the rig. So there's basically 2 rigs. There's one rig here. It's inside, I guess. Where is it? Damn. Okay, yeah. This is right here. This is the base rig, which controls the movement. And then there's the top rig here, which controls the squashing and stretching here. And I made it this way so that I could just like really easily move it, but also, and then do this. So That's kind of how the rig works. Oh, and it also uses the what do you call it? Oh my god. Come on. Just let me, okay, select it, pose, and then the stretch to modifier, the bone constraint.
Yeah, bone constraint in this.
Alright, and I don't really have any questions. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, just taking the time to be, like, making the controllers look visually different from the geometry is definitely a good pattern going forward, right? We had 2 of them this time, so it's pretty easy. But going forward, it's going to be difficult. This is Alexis. Did I get her? Where am I? Here she is.
Alright, here are my scenes. These are my follow-through animations. This was my scale follow-through animation here. I try to do like a radio wavelength sort of
Okay,
thing.
so
This, I kind of struggled.
here, this, you've got the position and the position, but then you didn't shift these in time. And so if you watch this, they're kind of, see how it looks like they're curling versus swinging? The curling is because it's, the end is happening simultaneously or before the root, whereas the swing would be the root starting and then moving down the chain.
Follow-through animation here.
This one looks good-ish. Maybe a little bit more angle here, but these are not quite doing the same thing.
Like a radio wavelength sort of thing. This I kind of struggled with because I waited longer to do this part, and I wasn't able to get the mesh to work with the animation. So first I'll show my F curves here. So for this one, the F curves are as follows. I did a scale animation on this one, and then I copied that over to this and slightly moved each one forward, so there was that follow-through motion. I think that it didn't exactly do the right timing here, but I sort of liked how it looked at the time, so I don't know if this is correct, but everything else I feel like was really cool. This looks a little bit weird. It's kind of slow.
Yep, so you just didn't delay these in time.
I feel like it kind of curves up too much. It's not very floppy, but nevertheless I got it to work. And then explain how the phase offsets. Yeah, so offsetting the distance here of the keyframes helps with the follow-through effect. Let me look at my dope sheet here. That's what I did here. So it just creates that sort of weight movement without sort of needing necessarily a bone rig for the links. But it's just the spacing of the keyframes helps emulate that follow-through kind of motion here. Almost like a cat's tail, or just like the natural physics of this sort of movement. And then how did I apply this to the scale? I kind of just wanted something sort of quicker in movement to vary it up here with my scenes. But I feel like I should have had them not come up at different times, because I think these...
Yeah, if you take the waves and you spread them out so far that they no longer sort of seem visually connected to each other, you kind of ruin the effect. And so I think you're kind of on the cusp of that here, where they no longer seem like this is, you know, because it's a wave and it's repeating. And if you delay this enough, right, they will, it won't seem like this one is coming after that one.
These ones are too similar in their placement. And then I duplicated them and flipped them, but I don't think that look good. So if anything, I'll just adjust it to where it's kind of following through with the motion better. And then for the squash and stretch rig, This one was, I waited too long, I think, for this specific thing. So I wanted to redo it, but I didn't have enough time. And I was able to get this one to work okay, but whenever I would try to add the controller wireframe cube on top of the top bone, it would just like sort of like do this to the top of the mesh, the expanding or exaggerated sphere mesh. And it was
That you didn't have deform unchecked. We want that very top controller bone to not affect the weighting. And so that's the anything you do to that top bone shouldn't change anything for the mesh. It just communicates to the other bone.
It wasn't like squashing and stretching. So the only way I could get that to work was adding it to the bottom, and I tried it multiple times, but I think maybe I just didn't try it in the right place. And the only way I was able to get this one to work was to flip it upside down, which is totally wrong. And then when I would try to duplicate this, it would like snap back. So I don't know if that was something with the position keyframe.
Yeah, if you duplicated it with the keyframes in there. I think either I deleted the keyframes first, or I duplicated, then deleted the keyframes. The keyframes are position keyframes. And so if you duplicate and move it somewhere else, as soon as you hit play, it's going to go back to where the original position keyframes are. So yeah, you got to go back and do that one again to get the, you want to have two controls here. You made something work, but this is not, the way this.
Or anything like that when I was like recording it. And then when I tried to apply it here, because it would snap back, I would try to, because I used a parent to take this away from the original one, and so I have to do that with this one, and it just didn't work. So
also, yeah, there's something going on here where you parented it backwards. The armature is a child of the apple. That's not right. The other way around, right? This one's right. The mesh should be a child of the armature. So that's also a reason this is not functioning.
I have to redo this part. The squash and stretch is supposed to function correctly with the controllers at the bottom and the top with the wireframe cubes, and that would have allowed me to have much better control. I still had to do I still have to go to object mode and adjust the placement of the ball, so it wasn't exactly a super easy workflow, and that was on me. But yeah, I would definitely like to improve this moving forward. And yeah, hope you guys enjoy.
Yeah, so in the rig here, uncheck this here, right? And perhaps also this was not split off. That may have also been part of the issue here, but I'm not, certainly the deform part, right? So is it split? Is deform off? Okay, then adding the constraint and going from there should allow you to do those two things separately then. All right, that's everybody, right? Alexis, Alec, Gage, Lawson, Desmond, Aaron, Trenton, Edward, Deanna, Amy, Crimson, Shyla, Thomas, Alenka, Mark, Alexis. Good. Okay. Okay, so we got what we went through on Monday with our tour of constraints and then our lower body set up. Let's load this and let's Okay, and coming into spring break, all of this work we've done on our fundamental principles of animation. We are going to codify in a Rube Goldberg machine. So this kind of thing, you know, the original Rube Goldberg origin of the term, you know, these idea of these, you know, action, physics-based series of actions resulting in something happening. But we want to be able to actually leverage all of the kind of things that we've worked on here. And so let's codify what we want to do with this. We're going to set up some parameters here for this. And let's do some informal storyboarding here of what we want to set out for all of this. Okay, we want to be able to hit most of the things that we've done throughout the, you know, couple weeks here, and also, you know, set up some other, scenarios here and some room. But rather than just saying like, go make a Rube Goldberg machine with these constraints, with these principles, I want you to have a few specific things in here, and then yeah, we'll go from there. And so let's have this start off with our best, our, you know, what I say, our best friend at this point. This is going to be a very squash and stretch ball that, let's say, step 1 here launches itself into the air. And so we're going to be going up here. And let's grab, which one is the arrow? Isn't it this one? Yeah, there we go. Mm-hmm. There we go. Excellent. And we wanted to make contact with, you know, here, let's say that we're going to have a hammer or something. And so let's just have something simple. Mm-hmm. 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 So we got this hammer and a platform of some kind. Which will have a ball on. Let's say that this has got to get, whoops, not that way. We got to make this a little bit longer. There we go. And here, this is a different ball. So let's do that. Let's get some color coding in here, right? So this will be the hammer. We'll make that, yeah, this will be a just platform. And so we'll give that an innocuous color. This is ball 2, and we'll make that one red. And it can be smaller. There we go. Right, and so let's label this one 1. And let's label this one 2. There we go. And let's look at this. There we go. And so this one needs to have, let's make sure we put something over here. I'm going to duplicate this one. And so this needs to make contact with this ball. And let's go ahead and do that, right? And so this ball 1 sort of starts things off, squashing and stretching up to knocking this loose. This swings and makes contact with ball 2, which kicks it off and has it roll down our platform here. And here we'll make contact with a let's rotate this. We'll say it's going to be a series of, we'll call these the diving boards. And so let's label this. This is going to be our stable platform. And over here, there we go. This is going to be our diving board. So ball 2 here makes contact with our diving board. Here we need to have the diving board should bend and propel ball up. There we go. And let's grab this one and do this to here, right? And at this point, we'll get another diving board. So here, and this time we'll change the anchor point, right? And so this part, stationary, bending down. Let's see, can we get an arrow coming out of this part of it? Can I get another arrow coming out of that? No. There we go. Bending down. Propels this back up. This one on this side. And so this case, it bends down from over here. That's not too bad. This one here to here, right? Control C, Control V. Ends up on this one. Yeah, a second, let me do that. Can I do that? There we go. Can I do that? And there we go. Excellent. Cool. Getting there. And get this out of here. See ya. Let's move this stuff out. All right, so let's think about this. This first ball here, this squash and stretch, based on what we've done, we want this to be exaggerated, and this is, you know, this one has its own personality, and it kind of starts off. And so which technique here are we thinking about using for this one in terms of making it squash and stretch? The rig here, right, is going to give us the most freedom. We could even have it do a before it jumps into the air to knock off the pin holding this hammer. So the hammer comes down. You know, the size and proportions of these, feel free to play with here, right? The ball, especially this one here in this instance, we want to be making sure that this one is textured to show the roll, right? So that when this ball hits it, it may go into the air, it may just start rolling, but we should be able to tell that it's rolling, not just a regular solid color, right? And then here, these, both of the diving boards, let's see here, what do we want to be doing here? These are going to need to have a rig with bones in order to bend with everything that's happening there, right? That one's happening. And yeah, we have the squash and stretch rig. We have the hammer propelling this one, rolling down here. The amount of space between all of these things, and so that comes up, that comes up. This one continuing to be propelled in this direction. And we'll have it make contact with this is for both of these here and also over here. All right, so a labeling color. The black here communicating action. Now, let's make sure we have a stationary wall over on this side. And our ball has to get flung up against this wall, coming down into a ramp. Am I going to be able to draw a ramp? Can I curve these? There we go. Can I make this thicker? If you want to angle these to motivate it. So think about this in terms of like this is a design brief. We know the general beats we want to hit, and you want to solve the problems artistically as you see fit. Can I make it that much?
Maybe copy duplicates of the ball to make a trail, just one like once to make it to show the motion of the ball, to make it visually more understandable. Yeah.
There we go. and then end with one more interaction. We'll call this one dealer's choice. So you can do something here at the end after the ball comes off of this ramp right here. So falling down after hitting the wall, zoom, out here, and we can have one more thing of your own design.
Oh, so we have to do this storyboard. I can't make our own.
You can make your own here. I want you to hit these beats before that.
So is this week's or?
Yeah, yeah.
So we're not doing the usual presentation, or are we doing?
Yeah, the things from Monday, then, this will be the first draft of this week. We'll do this over multiple weeks. Yeah. So so these sequence of things, right, as you've been hired and your client has said, I need this to happen in the commercial. And then I need it to end with like a really exciting flare. That's where, but we don't have any ideas for that part. That's where you can come up with something. But here, the squash and stretch, hitting the hammer, rolling ball, diving board, because I want you to be able to chain some things together here in terms of using the squash and stretch rig, a lot of the hammer stuff that we talked about before, rolling with bouncing, which needs to happen here. These diving boards, right? These are going to need to be things with rigs so that we can have them bend down and back up and down and back up with the ball on them, making contact with the wall, falling down, having a shoot, and coming back up. So the shoot, a lot of you know how to handle that in Blender, but let's just be clear here. That needs to be a curve with some kind of profile on it. So let's come in and I'll go ahead and we need to make a profile, something that sits on the ground. So let's get circle and just look at that, slash in and tab in here to edit mode over here. And I'm going to grab some of these edges, and if we did an extrude along normals, like so. And maybe got rid of these up here. All right, we've got a profile, like a half circle profile here. That'll work. Let's turn it into something. So I'm going to get these. And just make sure I have the outline. So I'll go ahead and dissolve these. Not delete. If I get X, dissolve edges, just give me the outside. Or, you know what? We'll just do it this way. We'll use the solidify modifier. That'll be easy. So I'm just want a half curve here. Maybe 3/4, right? We're doing a water slide. So we've got this. Let's tab out. We can turn it into a curve. There we go. That's good. And so now, in order to create some stuff, we're going to need another curve. So let's go ahead and go curve, Bezier, tab in, delete those points, and then we can draw something else. So for instance, a shoot, like so. And we want to sweep something along this. I think it's a little bit easier with the new modifier. And so if you come over here to tube, curve to tube, gives us that. If we look at this in this view, slash out there. There we go. Let's get rid of this cube so it's not in the way. There we go. Like this is a tube. Let's make it bigger. Kind of like that. Okay, but we don't want it to be a tube. We want it to use the profile. And so over here, custom, object, and I usually relabel these things. So this first one here should be profile. That makes it easier to find when I'm looking for it in this list of stuff here. And I might have relabeled the wrong one. Let's see.
Use the curve as the geometry. You have to add like a cube or something.
This is the profile. Yeah, and then this is the path. Okay, so on the path, we want the modifier. There we go. Tube, that one. There we go. And then custom. There we go. Profile. Excellent. And so if we look at this, we get that, and we can make this nice and thick if we want. And then we can also use our procedural friend, the solidify, not thickness, solidify, and crank this up and see what's happening with our caps. May have an extra point here. Let's look at the path. When you just draw with the draw tool, you can give us a little extra points sometime. And so, for instance, 2 points close together here. I'm going to get rid of this point. There we go. That cleans that up. And same thing here at the end, probably. Big angle on this one. Grabbing this and pressing G allows me to find an angle that's going to work with everything. And let's look at this one. Is there a second one there? And there'll be a limit to how far you can push the thickness of it, or the scale of it. There we go. This gives us a tube. Awesome. So easy to make things quickly with the draw, but may need a little, cleaning up there. The other platforms and the diving board and those other things, I think, are all stuff that we've put together previously. But now we've got to shoot. And in fact, I make this a reusable thing, right? So I might call this, track, right? And if you need to make more track in, for instance, the section that you're using, Shift D this over, come in, and then you can just edit the curve to be, whatever you would need it to be, as long as you don't invert them too far, you should be okay. If you need to extend the end, once it's drawn, you can come in and grab sections of it. And especially if you're in orthographic mode, I think it's easier to press E. You can extend these out to get more sections. But yeah, between the solidify and some of the other stuff, wrangling some of the curves takes a little bit of work there. But that gives us what we need in terms of our setup here. Let's come up with a few other ground rules here in our design brief. And so this is the Rube Goldberg design brief. And this over here, this needs to be the chute or track slash water slide slash chute. And here, the ball continues on his journey out after this jump there. Yeah, not this week. We just want to get the animation blocked out. So let's come up with a list of things here. Set up environment. Block out animation, right? In terms of what do I need to be where, how many things I'm going to need, all those kind of things. Then I might address the rig elements, where we're going to need the diving boards, the squash and stretch ball, SS ball, diving board. Does diving board make sense to you guys? What I'm saying there is bendy, right? Like not like a diving platform, like a diving board. Everyone's been to a pool, yes? Okay, good. Then, yeah. Hammer doesn't necessarily need a rig, just needs an anchor point. Then, timing of blockout. And let's say that we want to get to this point. And for right now, for next week, we say that we just have a wide to see all the blockout in constant interpolation, right? So a true animation blockout here, where we're seeing, you're focusing on like, is this enough time to get from here to here? We're not in tweening between anything yet, just sort of our overall amount of time. Make sure that we are set this up in 24 FPS. A few other ground rules here. Obviously, focus on animation, not materials or cinematography, or you can just have simple colors, maybe a texture or something for the ball so we know what's going on. We want to be at this point for right now. If you want to do a bit more modeling in terms of your hammer and other things, or use, some of you have already made some nice hammers from the other ones, you can reuse assets from the previous weeks. Do not use Blender, Physics, Sim animation. We haven't been doing that at all. This one we're keyframing. This is like our keyframe test. It's a test. Awesome. And so here to here, going down. I'm gonna put that one in bold. There we go. As a guide here, I would say between 8 to 15 seconds. So times 24, right? As a way to sort of start your timeline and then have everything in place. Yeah. So we want to make sure that these diving boards are rigged so that you can easily bring them down and back up, down and back up. Over here, we can have something go up and knock this off. This one, we have it going down, hitting this. So this is all the same ball, hence ball 1, ball 2, two different balls. I tried to communicate that with the color and the numbers. This hits the wall, comes down, around, up, and out. And then something here. The idea is that this is a fun thing at the end. Don't let this distract you and occupy all of your time in terms of not being able to execute on the rest of it. So for next week, we want to have, a rendered movie of everything in constant interpolation, having all of our timing. Here's the point where I'm going to hit, where the ball will be at all of these different points. Sound good? It's kind of a Rube Goldberg design. It's kind of a gauntlet. You guys know what a gauntlet is? Yeah.
Or a piece of armor.
Yeah.
It would have been cool if we could have designed our own course, though.
You get to design your own thing at the end.
But that's just the end, though.
Well, have fun with it. And then also, if you want to do more later, have at it. But I want you to be able to do this first. Yeah, there's so many ways you could distract yourself and not do the things that would really communicate learning about keyframing. That's I'm trying to balance both things. Do I want you to be creative and have fun with this? Yes. Do I want you to not be? That's the problem with teaching all of these things, right? You put yourself on the other side of the podium for a second, right? It's so easy to get totally sidetracked with stuff and not actually focus on whatever the thing is that we're trying to establish that everybody knows that week. So I'm trying to find some sort of happy medium there between those two things, in that, like, I want to know if you can actually do these things and then afterwards have fun. It is a good idea. That's why I thought of it.
Then again, I need to focus on my future, so I should not go overboard.
Right. So, I mean, for better or for worse, I mean, doing this kind of work is complicated. It takes time. And so being good at animation is one thing. Being good at time management is a different thing. Unfortunately, to do this stuff, for a job where people have deadlines and want to have things, you need to have some level of proficiency in time management as well. I know no one wants to hear that. But it's true, right? Here's a task. I've never been asked to do something professionally where they're like, you know what? Whenever you get it done, it's cool. There's some people have some sort of expectations about when things are done. So keep that in mind with putting this forward. Awesome. Okay. Like I said, we'll do this one. Yeah. So we'll block it out this week. See how everybody's blockouts are. Think about the general timing. Then polish the animation the next week. Then we'll have spring break to really polish the whole thing up. And then after spring break, that'll be a good midterm. And you will have internalized the principles of motion graphics and animation in a way in which you previously may have not. You will have absorbed them into your personality and ethos. How many do you find yourself like squashing and stretching more as a person these days? Like from room to room. Consider it. All right, everybody. All right. See everybody on Monday.